The complete work of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 6, Section 2. Soul and God. Anything that is in the space has form. Space itself has form. Either you are in space or space in you. The soul is beyond all space. Space is in the soul, not the soul in space. Form is confined to time and space and is bound by the law of causation. All time is in us. We are not in time. As the soul is not in time and space, all time and space are within the soul. The soul is therefore omnipresent. Our idea of God is the reflection of ourselves. Old Persians and Sanskrit have affinities. The primitive idea of God was identifying God with different forms of nature worship. The next stage was the tribal God. The next stage, the worship of kings. The idea of God in heaven is predominant in all nations except in India. The idea is very crude. The idea of the continuity of life is foolish. We can never get rid of death until we get rid of life. The goal. Dualism recognizes God and nature to be eternally separate. The universe and nature eternally depends upon God. The extreme monists make no such distinction. In the last analysis, they claim all is God. The universe becomes lost in God. God is the eternal life of the universe. With them, infinite and finite are mere terms. The universe, nature, etc. exist by virtue of differentiation. Nature itself differentiation. Such question as why did God create the universe? Why did all perfect create the imperfect, etc. can never be answered because such questions are logical absurdities. Reason exists in nature. Beyond nature, it has no existence. God is omnipotent. Hence, to ask why he did so and so is to limit him, for it implies that there is a purpose in his creation or his creating the universe. If he has a purpose, it must be the means to an end, and this would mean that he could not have end without the means. The questions why and wherefore can only be answered or only be asked of something which depends upon something else. On proof of religion. On proof of religion. The great question about religion is what makes it so unscientific? If religion is a science, why is it not as certain or as other sciences? All beliefs in God, heaven, etc. are mere conjectures, mere belief. There seems to be nothing certain about it. Our ideas concerning religion are changing all the time. The mind is in the constant state of flux. Is man a soul, an unchanging substance, or is he a continuous or constantly changing quantity? All religions except primitive Buddhism believe that man is a soul, an identity, a unit that never dies but is immortal. The primitive Buddhists believe that man is a constant changing quantity and that his consciousness consists in an almost infinite succession of incalculable rapid changes. Each change has it were been unconnected with the others, standing alone, thus precluding the theory of the law of sequence or causation. If there is a unit, there is a substance. A unit is always simple. A simple is not the compound of anything. It does not depend on anything else. It stands alone and it is immortal. Primitive Buddhists contend that everything is unconnected. Nothing is a unit. That the theory of man being a unit is a mere belief and cannot be proved. Now, the great question is man a unit or is he a constant changing mass? There is but one way to prove this. To answer this question, gra- gyration, stop the gyration of mind. and the theory that a man is a unit, a simple, will be demonstrated. All changes are in me, in the chitta, the mind substance. I am not the changes. If I were, I could not stop them. Everyone is trying to make himself or everybody else believe that this world is all very fine, that he is a perfectly happy. But when man stops to question his motive in life, he will see that the reason he is struggling after this and that is because in he cannot help himself. He must move on. He cannot stop. So he tries to make himself believe that he really wants this and that. The one who actually succeeds in making himself believe that he is having a good time in the man of splendid physical health. This man responds to his desires instantly, without questions. He acts in response to that power within him, urging him on without a thought, as though he acted because he wanted to. But when he has been knocked about a good deal by nature, when he has received a good many wounds and bruises, he begins to question the meaning of all this as he gets hurt more and thinks more. He sees that he is urged on by a power beyond his control and that he acts simply because he must. Then he begins to rebel and the battle begins. Now, if there is a way out of all these troubles, it is within ourselves. We are always trying to realize the reality is instinctively. We are always trying to do that. It is creation in the human soul that covers up God. That is why there is so much difference in God ideals. Only when creation can stop, only when creation stops can we find the absolute. The absolute is in the soul, not in creation. So, by stopping creation, we come to know the absolute. When we think of ourselves, we think of the body. And when we think of God, we think of Him as a body. To stop the gyration of the mind so that the soul may become manifested is the work. Training begins with the body. Breathing trains the body. Get it into a harmonious condition. The object of the breathing exercise is to attain meditation and concentration. If you can get absolute still, if you can get absolutely still for just one moment, you have reached the goal. The mind may go on working after that, but it will never be the same mind again. You will know yourself as you are your true self. Still the mind, but for one moment, and the truth of your real nature will flash upon you, and freedom is at hand. No more bondage after that. This follows from the theory that if you can know an instant of time, you know all time, as the whole is the rapid succession of one. Master the one, know the thoroughly one instance, and freedom is rich. All religions believe in God and the soul, except the primitive Buddhist. The modern Buddhists believe in God and the soul. Among the primitive Buddhists are the Burmese, Simis, Chinese, etc. Arnold's book, The Light of Asia, represents more of Vedantism than Buddhism. The design theory. The design theory. The idea that nature is all her orderly arrangement shows design on the part of the creator of the universe is a good as a kindergarten teaching to show the beauty, power and glory of God in order to lead children in religion upon to the philosophical conception of God. But apart from that, it is not good and perfectly illogical. As a philosophical idea is is entirely has a philosophical idea, it is entirely without foundation if God is taken to be omnipotent. If nature shows the power of God in creating the universe, then to have a design is so doing also shows his weakness. If God is omnipotent, he needs no design, no scheme to do anything. He has but to will it. It is done. No question, no scheme, no plan of God in nature. The material universe is the result of the limited consciousness of man. When man becomes conscious of his divinity, all matter, all nature, as we know it, will cease to exist. The material world, as such, has no place in the consciousness of all presence, as a necessity of any end. If it had, God would be limited by the universe. To say that nature exists by his permission is not to say that it exists as a necessity for him to make man perfect or for any other reason. It is a creation for man's necessity, not God's. There is no scheme of God in the plan of the universe. How could there be any if he is omnipotent? Why should he have a need of a plan or a scheme or a reason to do anything? To say that to he has is to limit him and to rob him of his character of omnipotence. For instance, if you came to a very wide river, so wide that you could not get across it except by building a bridge, the very fact that you would have to build a bridge to get across the river would show your limitation, would show your weakness, even if the ability to build a bridge did show your strength. If you were not limited but could just fly or jump across, you would not be under the necessity of building a bridge. And to build a bridge must be exhibit or must and to build a bridge just to exhibit your power to do so would show your weakness. Again, by showing your vanity more than it would show anything else. Monism and dualism are essentially the same. The difference consists in the expression. As the dualists hold the Father and Son to be two, the monists hold them to be only one. Dualist is the nature in manifestation, and monism is pure spirituality in the essence. The idea of renunciation and sacrifice is in all religion, has a means to reach God. Spirit and nature. Spirit and nature. Religion is a realization of spirit, not spirit has matter. Religion is a growth. Each one must experience it himself. The Christians believe that Jesus Christ died to save man. With you, it is belief in a doctrine, and this belief constitutes your salvation. With us, doctrine has nothing, whether or whatever, to do with salvation. Each one may believe in whatever doctrine he likes, or in no doctrine. What difference does it makes to you whether Jesus Christ lived at a certain time or not? What has it to do with you that Moses saw God in the burning bush? The fact that Moses saw God in the burning bush does not constitute your seeing him, does it? If it does, then the fact that the Moses ate is enough for you. You ought to stop eating. One is just as sensible as the other. Records of great spiritual men of the past do us no good whatever, except that they urge us onward to do the same, to experience religion ourselves. Whatever Jesus or Moses or anybody else did does not help us in the least except to urge us on. Each one has a special nature, peculiar. Each one has special nature peculiar to himself, which he must follow and through which he will find his way to freedom. Your teacher should be able to tell you what your particular path in nature is and to put you in it. He should know by your face where you belong and should be able to indicate it to you. You should never try to follow another path, for that is his way, not yours. When that path is found, you have nothing to do but fold your arms, and tide will carry you to freedom. Therefore, when you find it, never swear from you. You your way is the best for you. Your way is the best for you, but that is no sign that it is the best for others. The truly spiritual sees spirit as spirit, not as matter. It is spirit that makes nature move. It is reality in nature. So, action is in nature, not in spirit. Spirit is always the same, changeless, eternal. Spirit and matter are in reality the same, but spirit has such never becomes matter, and matter has such never becomes spirit. The spirit never acts. Why should it? It merely is, and that is sufficient. It is pure existence, absolute, and has no need to action or no need of action. You are not bound by law. That is in your nature. The mind is in nature and is bound by nature and is bound by law. All nature is bound by law, the law of its own action, and this law can never be broken. If you could break a law of nature, all nature would become to an end in an instant. There would be no more nature. He who attains freedom breaks the law of nature, and for him nature fades away and has no more power over him. Each one will break the law but once and forever, and that will be the end. That will end his trouble with nature. Governments, societies, etc. are a comparative evils. All societies are based on the bad generalizations. The moment you form yourself into an organization, you begin to hate everybody outside of that organization. When you join an organization, you are putting bounds upon yourself. You are limiting your own freedom. The greatest goodness is the highest freedom. Our aim should be to allow the individual to move towards this freedom. More of goodness, more of artificial laws. Such laws are not laws at all. If it were a law, it would or it could not be broken. The fact that this so-called law has or are broken shows certainly that they are not laws. A law is that which cannot be broken. When you suppress a thought, it is simply pressed down, out of sight, in a coil like a spring, only to spring out again at a moment notice, with all the pent up force resulting from the suppression, and do in a few moments what it would have done in a much longer period. Every ounce of pleasure brings its pound of pain. It is the same energy that at one time manifests itself as pleasure, at another time as pain. As soon as one set of sensations stops, another begins. But in some cases, in more advanced persons, one may have two, yeah, even the 100 different thoughts entering into the active operations of the same time. Mind is action of its own nature. Mind activity means creation. The thought is followed by the word, and the word by the form. All of this creating will have to stop, both mental and physical, before the mind can reflect the soul. The practice of religion. The practice of religion at Alameda, California, March 18, 1900. We read many books, but that does not bring us knowledge. We may read all the Bibles in the world, but that will not give us religion. Theoretically, religion is easy enough to get. Anyone may get that. What we want is practical religion. The Christian's idea of practical religion is to in doing good works, worldly unity. What good is unity? Judged from a utilitarian standpoint, religion is a failure. Every hospital is a prayer that more people may come there. What is meant by charity? Charity is not fundamental. It is really helping on the misery of the world, not eradicating it. One looks for name and fame and covers his efforts to obtain them with the enamel of charity and good works. He is working for himself under the pretext of the working for others. Every so called charity is an encouragement of the very evil it claims to operate itself or operate against. Men and women go to a balls and dance at a night all night in honor of some hospital or other charitable institute, then go home, behave like beasts and bring devils into the world to fill jails, instant asylum and hospitals. So it goes on and it is called good work, building hospitals, etc. The ideas of good work is to listen or eradicate the misery of the world. The yogi says all misery comes from not being able to control the mind. The yogi's idea is freedom from nature. Conquest of nature is his standard of work. The yogi says that all power is in the soul, and by the controlling of the mind and body, one can conquer nature by the power of the soul. Every ounce of muscle is in excess of what is beyond the needs of one physical work is that much less of brain. Do not exercise too hard, it is injurious. The one who does not work hard will live the longest. Eat less food, work less. Store up brain food. Household work is enough for women. Do not make the lamp burn fast. Let it burn slow. Proper diet means simple diet, not highly spiced. Fragmentary notes on the Ramayana. Fragmentary notes on the Ramayana. Worship Him who alone stands by us, whether we are doing good or are doing evil, who never leaves us even, has love never pulls down, has love knows no better, no selfishness. Rama was the soul of the old king, but he was a king and he could not go back on his words. Wherever Ram goes, there go I, says Lakshmana, the younger brother. The wife of the elder brother to us, Hindu, is just like a mother. At last, he found Sita, pale and thin, like a bit of the moon that lies down at the foot of the horizon. Sita was chastity itself. She would never touch the body of another man except that of her husband. Pure, she is chastity itself, says Ram. Drama and music are by themselves religion. Any song, love song or any song, never mind. If one whole soul is in that song, he attains salvation. Just by that, nothing else he has to do. If a man's whole soul is in that, his soul gets salvation. They say it leads to the same goal. Wife, the co-religious. Hundreds of ceremonies the Hindus has to perform, and not one can be performed if he has not a wife. You see the priest tie them up together and they go round temples and make very great pilgrimages tied together. Ram gave up his body and joined Sita in the other world. Sita, the pure, the all suffering. Sita is the name in India for everything that is good, pure, and holy. Everything that in woman we call woman. Sita, the patience, all sufferings, ever faithful, ever pure wife. Though through all the suffering she had, there was not one harsh word against Ram. Sita never returned injured. Be Sita. Notes taken down in Madras, 1892 18, till 1893. Notes taken down in Madras, 1892-1893. The three essentials of Hinduism are belief in God, in the Vedas has revelation, in the doctrine of karma and transmigration. Transmigration. If one students or one studies the Veda between the line, one sees a religion of harmony. One point of difference between Hindu and other religion is that in Hindu we pass through truth to truth, pass from truth to truth, from the lower truth to the higher truth, and never from error to truth. The Vedas should be studied through the eyeglass of evolution. They contain the whole history of the progress of religious consciousness until religion has reached perfect in unity. The Vedas are anadis, that is eternal. The Vedas are anadis, that is eternal. The meaning of the statement is not, as is erroneously supposed to or supposed by some, that the word of the Vedas are anadi, but that the spiritual law inculcated by the Vedas are such. This law must, or these laws which are immutable and eternal have been discovered at various times by the great men or rishis. Through some of them are forgotten now, while others are preserved. When a number of people from various angels and distance, when the number of people from various angles and distance have a look at a sea, each man sees a portion of it according to his horizon. Though each man may say that what he sees is the real sea, all of them speak the truth, for all of them sees the portion of the same wide expanse. So the religious scriptures, though they seem to contain variation and conflicting statements, speak the truth, for they are all descriptions of that one infinite reality. When one sees a mirage for the first time, he mistakes it for the reality, and after vainly trying to fetch this thirst in it, learns that it is mirage. But whenever he sees such of phenomena in the future, in spite of the apparent reality, the idea that he sees the mirage always presents itself to him. So, in the world of Maya, to the Jivamuktis, to a Jivamukta, the liberation of the life. Some of the Vedic secrets were known to certain families only, as certain powers naturally exist in some families. With the extinction of these families, these secrets have been died away. Vedic anatomy was no less perfect than the Ayurvedic. There were many names for the many parts of the organs because they had to cut up animal for sacrifice. The sea is described as a full of ship. Sea voyages was prohibited later on, partly because there came the fear of people might thereby become Buddhist. Buddhism was the rebellions of the newly formed Kshatriyas against the Vedic priestcraft. Hinduism threw away Buddhism after taking its sep. The attempt of all the southern acharyas was to effect a reconciliation between the two. Shankaracharya's teaching showed the influence of Buddhism. His disciples perverted this teaching and carried it to such an extreme point that some of the later reformers were right in calling the acharyas' followers crypto-Buddhist. What is Spencer's unknown? What is Spencer's unknowable? It is a Maya. Western philosophers are afraid of unknowable, but our philosophers have taken a big jump into the unknown and they have conquered. Western philosophers are like vultures soaring high in the sky, but all the while with their eyes fixed on the carrion beneath. They cannot cross the unknown, and they therefore turn back and worship the almighty dollar. There have been two lines of progress in this world, political and religious. In the former, the Greek was everything. The modern political institutions been only the development of the Greeks. In the later, the Hindus are everything. My religion is one of which Christianity is an offshoot and the Buddhism is rebel child. Chris, uh, Chemistry ceases to improve when one element is found from which all other elements are deducible. Physics ceases to progress when one force is found of which all others are manifested. So religion ceases to progress when unity is reached, which is the case that Hinduism or with Hinduism. There is no religion, there is no new religious idea preached anywhere which is not found in the Vedas. In everything, there are two kinds of development, analytic and synthetical. In the former, the Hindus excel other nations. In the latter, they are nil. The Hindus have cultivated the power of analyzing and abstraction. No nation has yet produced a grammar like Paniniya. Ramanuja's important work is the conversation of Jain and Buddhist into Hinduism. He is the great advocate of worship, image worship. He introduced love and faith as potent means of salvation. Even in Bhagavad Gita, 24 avtaras. Even in Bhagavad Gita, 24 avtaras are mentioned corresponding to the 24 Tirthankaras of the Jain. The name of Rishabha Deva being the common of them. The practice of yoga gives the power of abstraction. The superiority of Siddha over others consists in his being able to separate attributes from objects of and think of them independently, giving them objective reality.